What's up, everybody? Welcome to the video. Chris Pennell here, and we are mock drafting once again this week as we're going to take on the 10th overall pick. I know we're still several weeks away from draft season and the NFL season actually starting, but we want to practice how we play. We don't want to stumble into the draft with our pants around our ankles, and to avoid that, let's mock. So I kind of like being in the back because we don't really control our own destiny, and I know that sounds backwards, but I kind of just like taking the value that falls to me. We're not forced to potentially reach on a player. Because sometimes when I'm in the 2 slot or the 3 slot, I'm like, well, man, I could have got this guy a few picks later, and it feels like I'm kind of wasting a pick there, which you're not. It's just, that's what I'm thinking in my head, right? But for me, the optimal start here at pick 10, this is PPR, I believe, and oh, my holy hell, that is off. Do not ever use non-dark mode. That looks just like an abomination. If you use that, shame on you. But the starting point that I would like, none of these guys, of course, I would like Christian McCaffrey, and I would love Devon Chan. Those are 2 of my favorite picks back here. If we could get them both at the 10 and 203, I would feel really good about that. So let's start this draft and see what the fantasy AI guns are going to give to us. Of course, you have Jamar Chase. I think the top 5 is all very safe plays. That's the clear top 5 right there. For me, it's Jamar Chase, Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Justin Jefferson, then Saquon Barkley. Put in any order you want, but I think Jamar Chase definitely has to be the 101. All right, so we're on the clock here. Derrick Henry went pretty early, in my opinion, for PPR. I would not take him until quite a bit later, but we have our pick of the litter. For me, it's going to be Christian McCaffrey. The running back position grows quite thin very quickly, and we know the injuries stack up every single season, and I know I'm hyping up a running back here that tends to get injured every single season, but he is going to run this entire 49ers team. They lost Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk's on the pup. Victor Purcell got banked up a little bit. John Jennings is there, but this is George Kittle and Christian McCaffrey's team. The Kyle Shanahan system is undefeated for the running back position as long as CMC is healthy, which he is currently. I mean, he's going to be arguably the top projected running back on a weekly basis until he ends up dying. So hopefully maybe we can get his handcuff later on. But for me, it's Christian McCaffrey here. I know Ashton Genty's there. Sure. Nico Collins, Malik Neighbors. Fine with me, but the 49ers are going to be one of the more high-scoring teams on a weekly basis, so I'm going to take CMC and feel really good about that. And we're going to hope Devon Chan, and he does. A.J. Brown's not someone I'm really on this year. Ashton Genty, I'm not sure if I want a Raider that early. I think he's going to be great, of course, but I really like picking later in the draft. I mean, CMC Devon Chan start is fantastic to me. Now, the splits are quite drastic with Devon Chan, depending on if Tua is in or not. We're talking last season averaging less than double-digit points per game when Tua was out, and then we're talking over 22 fantasy points a game when Tua is in. We know we're going to get the volume through the air, which is going to keep him super safe in PPR. Same with Christian McCaffrey. Like, these are 2 of the more safer backs you can get. I know they have some stipulations, and that's why they're not going at the very beginning. The other guys are pretty much rock solid, no questions about it. These guys do have some questions, but if things do go right for us, we're talking about guys that can both finish in the top 5 this season on a points per game basis. But as you can see in the game log last season, you can tell when Tua was out, and you can tell when he was in, and he's going to get the targets. No Jonnu Smith this season, which I'm not sure how much that's going to directly affect Devon Chan, but he was kind of a safety valve for Tua, and I think him being out maybe just leads to a little bit more targets, more of a target share for Chan, but I feel really comfortable with that. I mean, of course, there's great options here. Bucky Irving, I love. Drake London, Brock Bowers, Brian Thomas, I think he's going to be an absolute stud in the NFL, but I'm going to go with the 2 running back approach there, and that kind of leaves us to do whatever we want the rest of the draft, because once I get my 2 solidified running backs, until I do that, I'm a little bit worried. I'm a little bit nervous because the RB2 situation could always be really, really shaky, and I don't feel great having someone like, Alvin Kamara as my RB2 this year, or for example, we have guys like Chuba Hubbard, James Conner. I mean, they're fine options, but 2 high upside guys. I do think Devon Chan's going a little bit lower in the draft in PPR, and same with Christian McCaffrey. All right, so we're up here. Pick 1 went wide receiver. Got both Bengals wide receivers. I feel like in real life, I mean, these are just AI bots. I feel like they won't do that in real life because people just don't like doing that. But, I mean, for PPR, I mean, these guys are going to put up a lot of points this season, that's for sure. But let's see what we have on the board here. And we got some solid picks, no matter which route you want to go. I mean, if we're going to get another running back, we could with James Cook. Not a huge fan of that this season. I'd probably want to stockpile some wide receivers. If we could go wide receiver with the next 2 picks, I would love that. We're getting the nice base to our lineup. Once you get 2 receivers, 2 running backs, I don't mind waiting in quarterback this year. We can figure out a tight end. I don't mind George Kittle, but I mean, he has a little bit of an injury history. So does Christian McCaffrey. They're both on the same team. I don't really like stacking them together, even though I think they're going to be great on a week-to-week basis when healthy. Garrett Wilson, I don't love the quarterback situation. It's not like Aaron Rodgers was a world beater last season, but kind of prefer it to be a pocket passer. But Justin Fields showed that he, in the past, he could support someone like DJ Moore And I think Garrett Wilson's in a similar category to that. So I don't mind taking him here, just another wide receiver. Mike Evans would be he would be the preference coming back. If he happens to be gone, I don't mind taking Davante Adams. But we're going to take Garrett Wilson here. I know he's at the top of the board, so it was an easy pick, but I'm not going to fight it. And unfortunately, there goes Mike Evans. But I do like Davante Adams. When Matthew Stafford's throwing the ball, he can key in on 2 wide receivers, mainly one, but he's shown that in the past he can support Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. But Davante Adams, I think, is in probably for a pretty good season in LA. I know he's getting up there in age, but he seems younger than he actually is. And he still shows some life, especially at the end of last season. So I feel pretty good with Davante Adams there. So I love the start, to be honest. I mean, we got the nice meat and potatoes part of our lineup done. Christian McCaffrey, Devon Chan, then Garrett Wilson and Davante Adams. Now, of course, we're going to be a little bit lighter at the quarterback position compared to others, and most likely the tight end position. But once the top 3 tight ends go, Brock Bowers, Trey McBride, George Kittle, I'm not like in a super hurry to get the next one. So now we can kind of just have fun with our build. I mean, quarterback situation, I found myself waiting for Dak Prescott quite often. When you can get him pretty late in drafts. I really do like Baker Mayfield this year. So if we want to get, I would much rather have Baker Mayfield over Patrick Mahomes this season. Like, that's not even really much of a question for me. I like Bo Nix, get a little bit of rushing upside there. Not a huge fan of someone like Jared Goff. I talked about him in my quarterback tier video where he can have these big boom games, but with his lack of legs, there is weeks where he is absolutely killing your week when it just happens to be all rushing touchdowns. So his floor is one of the lower ones of the quarterbacks that get taken at least somewhat in the top 10. But I'm not sure we really need a quarterback yet. Guys like Jameson Williams, George Pickens. George Pickens is someone I'm really high on this year. So with Ted McMillan as well. I really like all 3 of these guys. Xavier Worthy is fine, but when Rashee Rice is back, he'll obviously take a bit of a hit. If Rashee Rice was out the entire season, Xavier Worthy I think would be a pretty easy choice for me. The running backs left, RJ Harvey, Travion Henderson, got a couple of rookies there, Aaron Jones, DeAndre Swift, Judkins, the Felon, Tony Pollard, Caleb Johnson. None of these guys really scream that like I want to take them, and we already have 2 heavy hitters, so I don't mind stockpiling even more wide receivers. I'm really high on George Pickens. I'm really high on Ted McMillan. It's kind of tough for me to make a choice here. McMillan's the rookie, so there's a little bit more of a question mark. We know the talent with George Pickens, and if we can get Dak Prescott later in the draft, we could get a bit of a cheaper stack there anyway. So I'm going to take George Pickens here. I know he has the ceiling. The floor is definitely lower because he has a bit of a head case, but I will gamble on it when I can this season. And we honestly could just go 4 wide receivers in a row and take Jameson Williams, and I would love that. I mean, we waited a little bit at wide receiver because we took 2 running backs at the beginning. So I really don't mind this at all. I mean, all 4 of these guys are talented. You can start each one on a weekly basis. We play the matchup game. For me personally, I play in 2 flex leagues. So 2 wide receivers, put both in the flex spot here. And I mean, yeah, it's a pretty loaded lineup. Jameson Williams is the guy that, another one that can be a bit of a head case. You know, he has a couple of suspensions, did gamble in the previous season. So, I mean, he's not always the safest pick in the world, but he also has some high upside. And the more he gets familiar and comfortable in this system, the better he's been getting, and obviously a first round talent. So I like that. Now I'm probably going to hop off the wide receiver bandwagon for a little bit here. We still have the quarterback position open, the tight end position open. Now, sleeper ADP wise, Bo Nix is at the top of the board, then Caleb Johnson. We do only have 2 running backs and 4 receivers. We still have Bo Nix available. Dak Prescott if we went away. There's all the quarterbacks there. Tight end, even if we want to take Evan Ingram or David Njoku. After that, I think it's a bit of a tier breakdown to some of the rookies with Tyler Warren and Loveland. Johnny Smith is there as well. It's a little tough. I mean, probably should get our 3rd running back at the very least, because if we don't take Caleb Johnson, we're in this range of guys like Jordan Mason, Najee Harris, Scottaboo, who I do like this year, Jalen Warren, but I am in on Caleb Johnson. I think he's going to be exciting this year. Should have more burst than a guy like Najee Harris in this offense. Jalen Warren, of course, is going to take half the snaps and be annoying and get some passing work, of course. But I do like rookie running backs. They got the fresh legs, they got the juice, and you typically like running backs in Mike Tomlin's system. So I'm going to go with Caleb Johnson here. We don't have any rookies, so it's not like we're rookie heavy and taking too much of a gamble. Kyler Murray actually ended up going before Bo Nix, and that does make this quite interesting. I am very tempted to take Bo Nix at this point, but I also don't think either of these 2 tight ends, Evan Ingram or David Njoku, are going to make it back to us, which I think is probably a little bit more concerning over than not getting Bo Nix. For me, it's David Njoku. We don't know what the quarterback situation is going to be in Cleveland. We saw the amazing game from Sanders in preseason versus the Carolina Panthers. Gave Cleveland fans some life, of course. I'm a Cleveland fan, so I'll put my bias aside. But I mean, if I am taking David Njoku here, I am rooting for Joe Flacco to start at the very least. I'm sure Sanders will still be able to get him the ball, but Joe Flacco loves him some tight ends. He loves David Njoku in smaller sample size with Joe Flacco, but you saw some monster games in the past with David Njoku and Joe Flacco before, and he's still a talented tight end. I know he's like, his 8th season at this point, but he came in the league young, and he's still below 30. So I think David Njoku's the pick. Evan Ingram's fine. Like, I'm okay with him, but I think I'd rather have David Njoku personally over Evan Ingram this season, especially if Joe Flacco is the starter. I think there's plenty of upside there. Back on the clock here, I think we're kind of blessed with Ibuka. I love him. I have been very high on him ever since Tampa Bay Buccaneers drafted him early in the draft, which I was surprised they did because they already have a pretty deep wide receiver room. I mean, you have Chris Godwin, who I know is coming off a major injury, Mike Evans, who is getting older in age, Jalen McMillan, but they're still all pretty good. But Ibuka, I love him. I'm going to take him here. I know it's our 5th wide receiver, but you cannot go wrong with depth. And, of course, there's upside for him coming into the starting lineup at some point. I mean, there's chances where he could flash more than James Williams, George Pickens, and he could easily slot in as our flex. And I'm hoping, I believe I saw that at the quarterback position we have Brock Purdy and Dak Prescott left. Looks like Brock Purdy went to Team 11, and that's perfect. We got exactly what we wanted and hoped for when we took George Pickens. We're going to do that. I know it's kind of a weird stack, Dak Prescott and George Pickens. Not many people, I guess, we get super excited about that, but at the price tags that they are at, I like it. I think Dak Prescott is one of the better values. The quarterback position this year, we have seen before when he's healthy, he can have top 5 quarterback upside. Got hurt last year, of course, which I think is probably aiding him going later in the drafts this season, but I like him a lot. This is a team that's going to have to throw the football. They're not going to be able to run this season. The defense is not that great, and we have Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders back there. It's not really an offense that sparks that, or at least speaks to me that they're going to run the football and win games like that. They're going to use Dak Prescott. They're going to use CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, Jacob Ferguson, however out they want to go with it. And at this point, we're into the weeds of the draft, and this is when defense and kickers start to pop up at the top of the board. For me, I usually don't draft any. At the end of the draft, I'll just keep drafting running backs, wide receivers at this point, take a flyer on a couple of guys, and then by the time week 1 rolls around, I'll end up making it the couple drops that I want to for the defense and kicker because I want to field a full team, of course. But I mean, I just keep taking that because kickers and defenses are completely random. I mean, if you want to sit here and tell me this kicker is better than this kicker, I mean, what the hell are we doing here? It's just completely irrelevant. Sometimes they get 20 points, sometimes they get 3. It doesn't matter. Of course, you want a kicker on a really good team because they're in scoring position more, but I'm not wasting picks on a kicker when I can get some flyers at the flex position. I mean, we've seen league winners go down at the very bottom of drafts like this before. I mean, back in the day, Alvin Kamara was a flyer at the end, and I don't think you would have wanted to waste the pick on the best kicker instead of Alvin Kamara or a defense that you're going to drop in 2 weeks because they end up playing the Philadelphia Eagles. So for me, that's not the route I go. There's really not too much I love at this point in the draft. The running back situation is not great. Tyjae Spears, although he got banged up. Jayden Blue, if you're looking at maybe he emerges as a running back 2-1 in this offense, which, I mean, maybe Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders, I can't imagine are going to be too impressive. Rashad White, I'm kind of rising on Sean Tucker here. I liked him in limited opportunities last season. Nick Chubb, Joe Mixon's pretty banged up currently. Tank Bigsby, Gary Endo would be our handcuff to Christian McCaffrey. I'd probably actually want to take him at some point. Wide receivers, we have Shaheed, although the wide receiver situation in New Orleans quarterback situation, I should say, is dreadful. Trey Harris, they're running Keenan Allen, just again, less targets to go around for the rookie. Marvin Mims, I do like, he's a bit exciting. Luther Burden, I think the slot position with Ben Johnson should be appealing. I'm kind of excited about him, and maybe if he lasts a little bit longer, I'll be able to get him. Christian Kirk, Kyle Williams, just nothing. Keenan Allen, of course, would be something I'm actually interested. So I might wait on him because I know the Bucs aren't going to take him. Quarterbacks left: Justin Fields, Drake May. I think Justin Fields is actually potentially worth a pick here. I don't usually take 2 quarterbacks, but Dak Prescott, which I do like him this year because of the value. I could also get a Russian quarterback with Justin Fields, and if Dak just ends up sucking this year, I can throw in the Russian quarterback, give me the floor. I do like that. I think him and Dak are very close, so I'll just take them and play the game, maybe the matchup game early on. But I do think Justin Fields probably shouldn't be. I would rather have Justin Fields over the likes of Jordan Love, Caleb Williams, CJ Stroud. I think he's kind of right there with Brock Purdy and Dak Prescott. So I don't mind doing that since we waited the quarterback position. We'll let them battle it out themselves. I'm going to take Keenan Allen next. He's going to rise on the boards, but right now that's a value if you can currently get him. If people don't want to scroll down and take Keenan at this point, I think they absolutely should. So I'll take Keenan Allen. And then I think Gary Endo is probably what we should do, just to take our handcuff to CMC when he gets hurt by week 7, and we'll cry. But we'll know we'll get not quite the exact production of Christian McCaffrey, but it'll be good enough to get us by. And hopefully CMC comes back at some point. Now my head's blocking it now. Now, if this was my actual draft, I'm just going to keep taking flexes and we'll make our cuts before the Thursday game, but I'm just gonna have to take a random defense and kicker at this point. Detroit Lions, Houston Texans. Houston Texans playing the AFC South. I guess that's where we'll get the edge there. I mean, I don't really care at this point. Just take whoever you want. I saw Cam Little hit a 70-yard field goal in preseason. Is he still here? We'll just take him because of that. I see him. That's gonna be the only reason we're taking him. Absolutely nothing else. McPherson, he's on the Bengals. They'll score points, but they will score a lot of touchdowns as well. I'm not gonna sit here and break down kickers. So we're taking Little for the memes, and I actually like this draft quite a bit. So let's look at the full roster here. And of course, I'm sure some people are going to disagree. Some people don't like the same players that I do, which is perfectly fine. I'm not saying this is the absolute optimal draft. You'll win everything if you do exactly this. But waiting on quarterback, waiting on tight end, I thought was kind of the move here. So we have two great PPR backs in Christian McCaffrey and Devon Chan. We just have to pray that CMC stays healthy, and we have to pray that Tua stays healthy. So two stipulations there. But wide receivers pretty loaded. Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams, George Pickens, Jameson Williams. We have Caleb Johnson, the rookie running back, who I think can emerge and be a very valuable fantasy asset at some point. And Ibuka, the rookie wide receiver, who I think has a lot of upside in that Tampa Bay offense. Justin Fields, we're in the battle with Dak Prescott here as our QB1, but I'm perfectly fine with holding two quarterbacks in that situation, at least for the time being. Keenan Allen, I think, is a pretty massive value right now. Like, I know no one wants him, and everyone's mad if they have Lad, but he's going to be a thing, unfortunately. Or fortunately, I guess if you get him late in the draft, which is what I did currently. And then Gary Endo, our handcuff, when CMC ends up going down. With that being said, that's all I got for today's video. So if you enjoyed, or even if you didn't, make sure you like down below. Scott Champ for brand new. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, just want to tell me how I messed up or what you do differently or whatever you want to do, say it down below. More than happy to see it. But I wish you all the best, and I'll see y'all next time.